Oh, what a beautiful morning it is to see so many of you here with your bright, smiling faces. My name is Bev Baker, and I'm your service leader this morning. And I'm grateful to share this uplifting service that has been so enthusiastically organized by Patty Kelly. So we are here today in person and online. We are a community that is committed to social justice and to supporting the various spiritual and ethical paths of our members and friends. We also acknowledge that we occupy the land that is the ancestral home of peoples. Our congregation strives to be welcoming to all, so you will see signs for various accommodations such as gender-neutral bathrooms and hearing-assisted devices. These are also listed on the back of your order of service. Please ask our ushers if you have any questions. And if you would like to know more about our church or the Unitarian Universalist faith, please contact us by emailing member-care@firstuu.com. The flowers today are from Mary Mark, who says, "Today's flowers are dedicated to Pride Month and to all the individuals who struggle daily to maintain their unique identity." As Carter Dendy lights the chalice, I'll share with you a statement by Oscar Hammerstein II. He said, "I know the world is filled with troubles and many injustices, but reality is just as beautiful as it is ugly. I think it is just as important to sing about beautiful mornings as it is to talk about slums. I just couldn't write anything without hope in it." So we're going to start this morning off with a music-filled morning by singing, we're going to start this music-filled morning by singing, "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning." Andrew Miller will sing the verses, and we can all join in the choruses, which will appear on the screen. Afterwards, please turn and greet your neighbors, or if you're watching online, say hi on chat.
There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the cattle are standing like statues. All the cattle are standing like statues. They don't turn their heads as they see me ride by, but a little brown maverick is winking her eye. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the sounds of the earth are like music. All the sounds of the earth are like music. The breeze is so busy, don't miss a tree. And an old weeping willow is laughing at me. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Oh, what a beautiful day.
Over the past month, I have been racking my brain trying to think of a blessing for our graduating seniors. And I have just been having the toughest time. And let me tell you why. So today's graduating seniors were born in 2005 and 2006, which means that they spent their early childhood in the midst of the Great Recession. When they were in second grade, Sandy Hook happened. Cue the active shooter drills. Then when they hit puberty and are about to enter middle school, the 2016 election occurred and the Me Too movement started. In fact, in their lifetime, Me Too, Black Lives Matter, Occupy Wall Street, all those started just since they were born. Then, in their freshman year of high school, the pandemic hit. Their entire high school career has been defined in part by the pandemic. So I hope they will forgive me, because I couldn't think of any words that could match their lived experience. Because not only have the teens that I know, not only have they survived, but they have thrived. And if I think about it too much, I will cry. So I have some words here that I've printed off that will hopefully be okay. But before I say these, I'm going to invite them forward to say their own words. So Carter Dendy and Lena Bush, will you please come forward?
When she puts it like that, it's a wonder Lena and I are here. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to this congregation and everybody. I've really appreciated the community and the support. Even when I'm not in church, it just spans throughout my life and everything I learned. It's been really amazing growing up here and spending my life here, and I hope I can continue to do so. Thank you.
I would also like to say thank you. I did not realize how much stuff we've been through, because you kind of hit something and you move on and you just try to deal with it. But this church has always been a standing pillar throughout everything that we've been through, from kindergarten all the way up through here. And I guess, have you been here since like preschool? Yeah, so I moved here when I was 3, and I've been coming here ever since, so 15 years. So I went all through RE, all through OWL, and somehow my sister has still gotten out of all the OWL classes. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who grew up with us along the way, and everyone who's already graduated, and the people a few years below us who we've been in RE with since 3rd grade, or kindergarten and preschool. So thank you.
We still have to do the blessing part. No matter how far you travel, no matter if you don't travel at all, you are on the cusp of a new life. People will have expectations of you. People you love will have expectations of you, both spoken and unspoken. This you already know. May you know, too, that you carry within you a spark of the universe creating itself. That spark connects you to all that is, and all that was, and all that will ever be. That spark is always there in you. Always a force of creativity and possibility, especially when the expectations of others overwhelm or disappoint you. When you doubt yourself or feel afraid, When you fail, as we all do at times, remember that spark. Always there sustaining and revitalizing you, like the love you find in this church. We are always a home for you. Your community is here for you. Blessings upon you and upon your graduation. One more thing. So here is a small graduation gift from this church. It is the book Becoming a Spiritual Guide for Navigating Adulthood by Kayla Parker, and a small traveling altar kit that includes an altar cloth, small chalice, and matches. Thank you.
Well, that was certainly a whopping big joy. But as part of being in a beloved community, sharing joys and concerns with each other is part of what we do also. So if you would like to share something with the congregation through our circle of friends, email or in the newsletter, or if you'd like to talk with our resident chaplain, Mary Tarbell Green, please fill out the form on the back of your order of service and place it in the offering basket when it's passed, or place it on the desk in the back of the sanctuary as you leave the service. Today we will not have our stones and water ritual for joys and sorrows, but I invite you to meditate, pray, or just enjoy the inspirational music that Angelina Bush will share with us now. Climb Every Mountain.
a quick plug. If you want to join the May Festival Youth Chorus, it is completely free. I just finished because I'm graduated, but if you know someone between the ages of, is it 8th grade? I think it starts in 8th grade, all the way up through 12th grade, you don't have to pay. They will give you your uniform. They will give you money for parking down at Music Hall. We just did Mahler Symphony No. 8 to finish the May Festival, and it was really beautiful, and it's a great opportunity to sing with the CSO and with the Cincinnati Pops. So if you know anyone, have any grandkids, any kids who are in that age group, hit me up, because I will give you the director's email and help you with the audition process and all that. So thank you.
I still have goosebumps from those last high notes. Wow. So now it's time for our offering, and each month we designate one of our Sunday plate collections to benefit a special cause or a local service organization. This month, our beneficiary is Treehouse Cincinnati. Since 2020, Treehouse Cincinnati has helped forge a community for LGBTQ and allied individuals in the Cincinnati region. Treehouse Cincinnati is a resource and convening space that uplifts the programming of the LGBT community and in our region. It promotes collaboration, diversity, and intersectionality. They center and give space to several organizations, including Cincinnati Black Pride, PFLAG, Cincinnati Glisten, Planned Parenthood, Storytime with Sparkle, and Cincy Fringe. Your donation today will help support the work of Treehouse Cincinnati. Please make checks payable to First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati with Treehouse Cincinnati in the memo line. You may also make your donation online through Breeze at any time. Giving to First Church is easy. You can text the word GIVE to 513-717-7373. If you have access to our Breeze member system, you may click Give Now, or you can give online at firstuu.com. You can also write a check to First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati and mail it to 536 Linton Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45219. If this is your first time visiting with us, please let the virtual plate pass you by. Your presence is gift enough for us. The offering will now gratefully be received.
I don't want to follow those two, but this is the theme of our message today. When the sky is a bright canary yellow, I forget all the clouds I've ever seen. So they call me the cockeyed optimist, immature and incurably green. I have heard people rant and rave and bellow that we're done and we might as well be dead. But I'm only a cockeyed optimist, and I can't get it into my head. I hear the human race is falling on its face and hasn't very far to go. But every whippoorwill is selling me a bill and telling me it just ain't so. I could say life is just a bowl of jello and appear more intelligent and smart. But I'm stuck like a dope with a thing called hope, and I can't get it out of my heart. Not this heart. So good morning. I am here to tell you about the cockeyed optimist, Oscar Hammerstein II. When Bev Baker suggested that I do this service, I was delighted because I love musicals. When I was growing up, I'd play and sing in the living room and probably drove my parents crazy. But this isn't a Hammerstein sing-along. The seed of this message is a sermon written by the Reverend Denise Tracy that Bev brought back from the 2003 Midwest U.S. Summer Assembly. Maria Marmo presented a revised version of that sermon shortly thereafter. I've drawn on these and many other sources to bring you a somewhat different message for a different time. And why should we care about a man who wrote what many consider to be sentimental musicals and who died 63 years ago? What does this have to do with Unitarian Universalism or life in today's world? Oscar Hammerstein's faith in humanity, his joy in living, and his belief that we can work toward a more equitable and peaceful future are particularly relevant in this jaded and divisive time. His beliefs reflect several of our UU values, and we can still be inspired by his words today. First, though, I need to introduce Oscar Hammerstein II to those who did not, as I did, grow up when every high school in America put on Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals all the time. Hammerstein was born in 1895 in New York. He was the grandson of Oscar Hammerstein I, who was a theater impresario who was instrumental, among other things, in getting the area around Times Square established as the center of New York's theatrical district. In fact, one of the city council men at the time wanted to rename Times Square Hammerstein Square after he died. That didn't happen, obviously. But all of his sons went into the theater business, and his son Willie, who was the father of Oscar II, advised his son not to go into the theater. But Hammerstein, that's who I'm talking about now, Oscar II, who had been studying law at Columbia, dropped out of school in his early 20s after his father died and went to work for his uncle Arthur, who was a successful producer. Oscar became a renowned lyricist and librettist, and I have to do a timeout for some definitions. I think we all know that a composer writes the music to the song. The lyricist writes the lyrics or the words to the song, and a librettist writes the story of the show. It's now called the book of the musical, but they used to call it the libretto, and Hammerstein considered himself a librettist. He wrote the librettos for the vast majority of the shows that he worked on, most successfully when he was adapting existing stories. Hammerstein worked with different composers during the 1920s with decent success, but his big breakthrough was Showboat in 1927, written with composer Jerome Kern. Showboat was a milestone in American musical theater history because it was the first show in which the lyrics of the songs were integral to the development of the plot and the characters. It also treated serious themes such as interracial marriage and alcoholism, which was not done in the light and fluffy operettas or musical reviews of the time. I have to share a Showboat story that Hammerstein's grandson said was probably apocryphal, but it's both delightful and instructive. Dorothy Hammerstein, Oscar's wife, was at a luncheon with Jerome Kern's wife, Eva, when someone complimented Eva on her husband's song, Old Man River. Dorothy piped up, Oscar Hammerstein wrote Old Man River. Jerome Kern wrote, da da dum dum, da 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 dum dum. I guess the lyrics matter. Interestingly, in his collaboration with Richard Rodgers, Hammerstein almost always wrote the lyrics first, and then Rodgers wrote the music. This was the reverse order used by many writing duos of the time. After Showboat, Hammerstein struggled professionally for more than a decade. He worked in Hollywood and in London, but even though he mostly worked steadily, he had no hits and some big failures. In 1941, Richard Rodgers was looking for a new writing partner, and he and Hammerstein found a winning combination with Oklahoma, which held the record for 18 years as the longest-running Broadway musical. The first ever original Broadway cast album was made of Oklahoma, and it sold over 1 million copies. Rodgers and Hammerstein followed this hit with Carousel, The King and I, South Pacific, The Sound of Music, the made-for-TV musical Cinderella, the movie musical State Fair, and several other lesser-known musicals. The Tony Awards did not start until 1947, so Showboat, Oklahoma, and Carousel were not eligible, and yet Hammerstein still won 8 Tonys, 2 Academy Awards for Best Original Song, and 2 Pulitzer Prizes for Oklahoma and South Pacific. Altogether, he wrote or co-wrote 45 musicals and 850 songs. Hammerstein also happened to be the mentor and substitute father for Stephen Sondheim, his only student. Hammerstein's critically unappreciated original musical Allegro was the first concept musical, structured around a theme instead of a plot. This is an art form that Sondheim and others developed in the 1960s and 70s. Hammerstein died of stomach cancer in 1960 at age 65. He is considered by many to be the best and most influential lyricist and librettist in Broadway history. So, where did Hammerstein's cockeyed optimism come from? And I realized as Meredith was talking about our graduating seniors and what they've been through, that it's important to understand this background that I'm providing to see more of his beliefs. Sorry, you'll see. As a child, he frequently witnessed his parents physically fighting. When he was 15, his mother died of peritonitis following a botched abortion. America entered the First World War when he was 22, and though he was turned down when he volunteered, apparently because he was underweight, he witnessed the senseless carnage of the war, as well as the disastrous global influenza epidemic of 1918. Hammerstein's first marriage failed. He had a nervous breakdown in 1928, and as I mentioned, he endured more than a decade of professional failure. In the 1930s, Hammerstein, whose father's family was Jewish, founded the Anti-Nazi League in California to combat fascism. In 1940, he wrote a poem that Jerome Kern later set to music. It begins, "The last time I saw Paris, her heart was young and gay. I heard the laughter of her heart in every street cafe." Did you think, as I did, that this was about a romantic interlude in Paris? Well, Hammerstein wrote this after Paris fell to the Nazis in June of 1940. It was his mourning the loss of the Paris that he had once known. This, of course, was followed by 5 more years of war, the unspeakable revelations of the Holocaust, the dropping of 2 atomic bombs, and the very real nuclear threats of the Cold War. Hammerstein knew heartache, fear, and evil. And yet, as he explained his philosophy in this essay written in 1956 for the This I Believe series, I have an unusual statement to make. I am a man who believes he is happy. What makes it unusual is that a man who is happy seldom tells anyone. The unhappy man is more communicative. It is a modern tragedy that despair has so many spokesmen and hope so few. He goes on to say that while he could build a case for unhappiness based on his experiences that I've detailed, it would be a false picture, as false as if I were to describe a tree only as it looks in winter. I would be leaving out a list of people I love. I would be leaving out an acknowledgement of the many successes that have sprouted among my many failures. I would be leaving out the blessing of good health, the joy of walking in the sunshine. I would be leaving out my faith that the goodness of humanity will triumph eventually over the evil that causes war. This optimism and faith in humanity inspired Hammerstein to write songs like Climb Every Mountain, You'll Never Walk Alone, and of course, Cockeyed Optimist. Hammerstein wrote that in art, the goodness of the human spirit must be fighting for its life. People must leave the theater, the church, or the lecture hall with a deeper faith and a higher interest in humankind than they brought in with them. Hammerstein was full of hope and optimism because he found joy in living, which he often expressed through references to nature and to love. He constantly asked listeners to look, to really see and appreciate the beauty of life all around us. Consider these lyrics. I'm as restless as a willow in a windstorm. Every night my honey lamb and I sit alone and talk and watch a hawk making lazy circles in the sky. I think about a night when the earth smelled of summer and the sky was streaked with white and the soft mist of England was sleeping on a hill. The hills are alive with the sound of music, with songs they have sung for 1,000 years. Today, we would call this mindfulness. Hammerstein was also a romantic who wrote about many facets of love, such as lovers who don't want to declare themselves yet in If I Loved You or People Will Say We're in Love. The prince in Cinderella questioning his love at first sight experience in Do I Love You Because You're Beautiful? Captain Von Trapp and Maria describing their more mature love in An Ordinary Couple, a song that was scrapped from the more saccharine musical made 5 years after Hammerstein died. Widow Anna Leonowens encouraging a young couple to grasp happiness while they can in Hello, Young Lovers. And a young couple in Carousel who envision putting their future children to bed and kissing the tops of their tousled heads in When the Children Are Asleep. To Hammerstein, love was a gift meant to be shared. The second to last lyrics he wrote, the last were to Edelweiss, if you're curious, were a little couplet he added to the reprise of 16 Going on 17 in The Sound of Music. A bell is no bell till you ring it. A song is no song till you sing it. And love in your heart wasn't put there to stay. Love isn't love till you give it away. In addition to writing about the goodness of humanity and the beauties of life, Hammerstein's belief in the value of every individual led him to work for racial equity and peace. You can see Hammerstein's belief in the inherent worth of people clearly in The King and I, in which Welsh teacher Anna Leonowens becomes tutor to the King of Siam, which is now Thailand. The king is interested in Western ideas of progress, but he still reigns as an absolute ruler, and Anna is aghast at the bowing and kowtowing expected of the king's subjects. She wishes she could tell him point blank, I wouldn't ask a Siamese cat to demonstrate his loyalty by taking that ridiculous position. When Tuptim, a young concubine who stages Uncle Tom's Cabin as a protest against her own slavery, and then is caught running away with her young lover, Anna shames the king into setting Tuptim free instead of whipping her. He dies feeling emasculated, but his son proclaims a new reign of progress with more democratic ideals. Though this play clearly demonstrates a Western colonial sense of superiority and certainly has stereotypical portrayals, its theme is acknowledging human worth and dignity. Hammerstein believed everyone mattered. He said, with old language, but I haven't changed it, if you really believe in the brotherhood of man and you want to come into its fold, you've got to let everyone else in too. This is most clearly illustrated in South Pacific, the story of two couples struggling with racism and interracial relationships on a US naval base in Polynesia during World War II. When he is asked what causes prejudice, Lieutenant Joe Cable sings this song.
You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to be afraid of people whose eyes are oddly made, and people whose skin is a different shade. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught before it's too late, before you are 6 or 7 or 8, to hate all the people your relatives hate. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be carefully taught.
James Michener, whose short stories Hammerstein adapted for the libretto of South Pacific, objected to this song, but Hammerstein insisted on keeping it because he said the show was all about anti-racism. It raised objections publicly, including in the Georgia legislature, and the sheet music for You've Got to Be Carefully Taught was not published for another 10 years. On his TV show Person to Person in 1957, Edward R. Murrow asked Hammerstein what he was thinking about when he wrote that song. Hammerstein said, "I think that probably the worst thing that parents ever do to children is to teach them to hate, to teach them prejudice. You wouldn't ever find a parent willing to inculcate poison that would make children physically sick. But teaching them to hate, teaching them to have prejudice, makes them mentally sick. And they stay mentally sick all their lives unless they have other very strong influences that come in and counteract it." When Hammerstein said this on national television, interracial marriage would still be illegal in some states for another 10 years. The Civil Rights Act was 7 years away, and segregation was common all over the country. But Hammerstein's words were unsparing. I must note that Hammerstein's social conscience clearly evolved over his life. Some of his shows from the 1920s were deeply racist, and he used stereotypes and dialect that we would consider offensive today, even in the shows that were trying to tell anti-racist lessons. He certainly made missteps, but he also made real contributions to racial equity. Hammerstein worked for 8 years on the musical Carmen Jones, a modern version of Bizet's Carmen. It took him 8 years to find a producer because the show had an all-black cast. But its eventual success encouraged others to produce shows with African-American casts. Hammerstein considered Carmen Jones to be one of his finest works. In the 1940s and 50s, Hammerstein supported many progressive causes, including Welcome House, an orphanage for multiracial children founded by Pearl S. Buck. His first grandchild was adopted from that home. Also, a few months before his death, Hammerstein reached out to Martin Luther King Jr. to help with his work as a board member for the National Committee Against Discrimination in Housing. Hammerstein also actively worked for peace. He spoke out strongly in support of the United Nations in the 1950s because he viewed a one-world government as the only way to prevent nuclear annihilation. He wrote these lines for the King of Siam: Unless someday somebody trusts somebody, there'll be nothing left on earth excepting fishes. Different types of people can work together, Hammerstein believed. Think of the farmer and the cowman should be friends. People should stick together despite their differences for the greater good. In a 1950 speech, he said, "I am convinced that if this world is to be saved from the destruction that modern warfare promises, it will be saved by the people whom hard-headed men call dreamers." This is Hammerstein's vision of the world, a peaceful world full of love and beauty, but not one without pain, loss, storms, or disasters. A world where people value each other and work towards a fairer and more equitable future. Doesn't this sound familiar? Unitarian Universalists believe in the inherent worth and dignity of all people, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, respect for the interdependent web of all existence. It shouldn't surprise you that Oscar Hammerstein attended what is now the Fourth Universalist Society in New York. In a 1958 interview with Mike Wallace, Hammerstein recounted a story of talking with a policeman who had discovered from the words of my songs that I had faith in humankind, faith that there was something more powerful than humankind behind it all, and faith that in the long run, good triumphs over evil. If that's religion, I'm religious, and it is my definition of religion. Hammerstein's ideas are still timely. We know that, as we hear in Cinderella, impossible things are happening every day. When we see Ukrainians fighting back against the Russians, when we see conservative Kansas voting for reproductive rights. Hammerstein's music may be old-fashioned, but his ideas are not naive or shallow. How long will Hammerstein's works endure? Who knows? The Sound of Music is likely to be on TV for a long time. Do Re Mi will be with us in the UU Church as the 7 Principles song, which we'll sing right after the sermon, although we're going to have to get an 8 Principles song now. Writer Marianne Ward noted that in the 1990s, orchestras started staging Sound of Music sing-alongs, where people would come dressed up in warm woolen mittens and lederhosen. She writes, "One man showed up in a full-body yellow jumpsuit, which seemed to be unrelated to the film. Someone finally asked him what character he was supposed to be portraying, and he answered, 'I'm Ray, a drop of golden sun.'" Don't we all want to be a drop of golden sun? To whistle a happy tune to convince ourselves we're not afraid? To follow the rainbow till we find our dreams? Oscar Hammerstein showed us how, with hope in our hearts, we will never walk alone. In this covenantal faith, let's walk together, grateful for the beautiful gift of life and inspired to use our gifts to make the world better for everyone.
Now, we are going to sing the 7 Principles song, which, as Patty pointed out, we do need to add one more, to the tune of Do Re Mi. The words will be on the screen, but there are also several versions, so just sing how you feel moved to. One, each person is important. 2, be kind in all you do. 3, we help each other learn. 4, and search for what is true. 5, all people have a say. 6, work for a peaceful world. 7, the web of life's the
Now it's time to extinguish the chalice. So please join me in reading together the words that will appear on the screen as Carter extinguishes our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts again. So we have one announcement, and that is that next Sunday, June 11th, is Plant Pot Sunday. So this is for recycling, so bring your clean plastic, clay, or ceramic pots. They will be taken to the recycle hub for recycling or reuse. And this isn't exactly an announcement. We need to applaud everybody, the 30 people who pitched in yesterday to clean up our church. So thank you very much. And of course, the people that helped organize this major clean-out event. So, I know you want one last opportunity to sing, so let's conclude by singing My Favorite Things, and the words will appear on the screen.